I'm on the fault line again, which is the disused railway line that runs just past my hometown, quite near where I live. And I'm thinking about meaningfulness today. It's a term that I can't get my head around quite a lot of the time. It seems to mean a whole different set of things depending upon circumstances. Sometimes it means significance or importance or value, that kind of meaningfulness. Does life have meaning? And sometimes it means something closer to translatability. What is the meaning of this foreign word? What is the meaning of this action? What is the meaning of this gesture? What is the meaning of this artwork? Although, of course, the meaning of an artwork seems to draw on both those understandings. And one of the things I'm thinking about today is in terms of metaphors for what meaning might mean. What I suspect is that meaningfulness and meaning draw largely on spatial metaphors, as do most other things, I know. I'm not really sure whether I'm thinking here about meaningfulness in the sense of significance or meaningful in the sense of translation. But the spatial metaphors that I'm thinking about as ways of understanding what meaning signifies, I think there are two. First, there's one to do with meaning as a kind of purpose, or as a kind of mission, or as a kind of progress, in which you judge the meaningfulness of something by its results. And here I guess I am thinking of terms like, what is the meaning of life? What is the purpose of life? And I'm sort of reminded of Rick Warren's book, The Purpose-Driven Life, in which meaning or meaningfulness is described as a kind of process. The significance of what one does lies in the results of that action. And I think when we use it in that sense, we're drawing on a processual or progressive metaphor to do with movement and to do with what I'm doing now, walking. So each step I take, the meaning of each step is the place it takes me to. So the meaning of this step is this location, and the meaning of this step is this location. So I think in that sense, meaning has its origins or has its sort of background comprehensibility within metaphors of movement, and particularly movement through space, and probably particularly walking, actually, since it's probably one of the activities that we've been doing the longest as human beings. It's probably very firmly hardwired into the logic of our being, I would imagine. So meaning is walking in that sense, I think, kind of. The other understanding of meaning that I'm playing around with is meaning in the sense of, well, it's more to do with that translatability thing I mentioned, but it's meaning in the sense of aboutness. And I guess that particularly applies to artwork. It's very typical, certainly my family who aren't in the arts, if they ever go and see an artwork, piece of theatre or go to a gallery, typical question is, what is that about? It's not a question which most people who are involved in the arts actually exercise themselves with, but it is very common, I think, outside of that. What's it about? And I think what's happening with that question is it's kind of covertly drawing on that spatial sense of aboutness, in the whereaboutsness of the word about. So there seems to be a kind of covert appeal for a location within a map of understanding. When we say, what is something about, we seem to be saying, what's around it? If this was space, what would be the surrounding? What would the surroundings look like? And by inference, through an understanding of the surroundings, the particular location of this place of meaning is inferred much like being lost in a big city. I was thinking, if you're lost in a big city and you have a mobile phone with you, particularly if you're meeting someone, you'll probably call that person and say, "Oh, I'm lost. Whereabouts are you, or whereabouts am I?" And to describe where you are, you typically look around and you'd say, "Oh, there's a McDonald's on this corner, and there's an HSBC bank over here, and there's a very large building, it's mostly made of glass to my right, and behind me there's a street that's got like a statue in it." And from those, from that description of what's in the whereabouts, you can kind of draw the coordinates together to identify where you are. And I think when we use the word "about" to describe meaning, what's this thing about, we're doing a similar kind of conceptual exercise. We're trying to find landmarks in the epistemological environment from which we can draw coordinates to identify the particular meaningful place on which we stand, or in which we're being invited to stand in the case of asking the meaning of an artwork. So that's where I'm up to with that. What I'm suggesting is that one of the ways in which you understand meaning, and I'm sure it's not the only way, is to do with spatial metaphors. And the two spatial metaphors that I'm looking at here is the metaphor of movement and walking, in which meaning and purpose are derived from the process of stepping forward, and meaning in terms of aboutness, in which meaning is the result of a mapping activity in which one finds epistemological landmarks to infer one's position in that epistemological space.